Welcome to SVG-TV News and Sports for Wednesday, February 26, 2014. I am Jennifer Richardson with the details. Stakeholders from various sectors here are meeting in a two-day workshop at the Bookament Bay Resort on practical ways information and communication technology, ICTS, can be used to promote and foster innovation to benefit the everyday life of citizens. Senior Projects Officer in the Central Planning Division, Marcel Edwards-John, explains that the workshop is the second in a regional series as part of the ongoing Caribbean Communications Infrastructure Program, CACIP, coordinated by the Caribbean Telecommunications Union, the CTU, with the participants drawn from various government ministries and non-governmental organizations, NGOs.
The Government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines recognizes the importance of ICT to development. For those who have taken the opportunity to peruse, or I dare say to read, the 2013 to 2025 National Economic and Social Development Plan that was published last October, you would be aware that one of the 5 strategic goals of the plan is the re-engineering of economic growth. To achieve this goal, one of the main strategic objectives of the plan is to further develop the information and communication service sector here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. This development is expected to be achieved through a number of strategic interventions, including strengthening of the legislative framework, enhancing inflows of technology into our economy, the establishment of knowledge parks and centers of excellence, human resource development, the establishment of a comprehensive e-government system, and the continued liberalization of the communication sector.
The Senior Projects Officer says SVG's ability to compete in the global economic environment depends to a large extent on the country's capacity to innovate not only in ICT but in all sectors of the economy.
It is innovation that has created and will continue to create quantum leaps in ICT. Innovation takes many forms, and as we know, it can originate from anyone, as it primarily requires nothing but a mindset that probes boundaries, or maybe perceived boundaries, to bring new ideas to fruition. For those of us who took the opportunity to attend the I-Squared competition that was organized by the NTRC a couple of weeks ago for secondary and post-secondary institution, we saw innovation in action here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines from our students. There is no doubt that already ICT has revolutionized the lives of the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and I dare say around the world.
Meanwhile, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Foreign Trade, Commerce and Information Technology, Camilo Gonzalez, in his address to the gathering, stressed the importance of ICT, that's ITC, in government operations, adding that old paradigms must be abandoned in favor of new ways to interact with citizens.
As I declare this workshop open, the message that I wish to deliver to you is a simple one. St. Vincent and the Grenadines is developing rapidly. It is open for business, and it is ripe for ICT on innovation. The only missing element is you.
Through CARSIP and with the support of the CTU, the governments of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, St. Lucia and Grenada have been working toward harmonizing the development of their telecommunications infrastructure to maximize synergies and avoid inefficiencies. Dominica hotelier Gregor Nassif has written an open letter to Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves asking him to step aside as chairman of the Shareholders Committee of Regional Airline Liat. This letter was circulated through the Carib PR Wire, an online news outlet. The recent letter by the Dominican hotelier is said to be a 4th open letter to the shareholders of Liat. The letter states that since PM Gonsalves doesn't believe the airline can be profitable, Liat needs a new chairman who can find a new approach to take it and the Caribbean aviation industry forward without a perpetual and unfair burden on the treasuries of St. Vincent, Antigua, Barbados and Dominica. The Carib PR Wire further quoted Nassif as saying, Liat needs to fight the battle of its life to transform itself to be financially viable and sustainable. Nassif ended his open letter stating that it is time to run the airline like a business before it goes out of business. SVG-TV News tried to get a comment from PM Gonsalves, but he was in cabinet for most of the day. More Vincentian youths are being encouraged to get involved in the hospitality industry. Speaking at the recent launch of the Spring Village Police Youth Club, Director of Special Projects Dr. Gerald Thompson said with the coming on stream of the Argyle International Airport, young people will have an opportunity to gain employment in various areas of the hospitality industry.
We're hoping to build a 750-room hotel. And so I want to encourage a lot of our youth to get into the area of hospitality and get training so that when that sort of hotel is built, you could get a job there. And then you have to have a variety of skills in a number of areas. Or to become a technician for energy, like what will happen to geothermal energy.
Thompson also noted that in the next month, 12,500 laptops will be distributed to secondary school students by the government, and in this regard, he is urging the youths to become familiar with information technology, which he says is changing the face of the world.
But the thing is that I want to brace you for something big. Very soon we'll be launching 4G and probably LTE. And can you imagine being in a bus and using your laptop all the way in that bus or in the back of a car? And the future for our youth is a bright one.
The less fortunate in St. Vincent and the Grenadines continue to benefit from the Rotary Club of St. Vincent through the establishment of various programs provided by the club. Marking its 100th year celebration of volunteerism at a reception last Friday, Rotarian Dr. Jules Ferdinand spoke of the many contributions made by the organization, including in the area of literacy, as he stressed the importance for Vincentians to be able to read and write.
The folks up in the Georgetown area in particular have been benefiting from the computer program, largely financed by Scotiabank, and we monitor and seek to make sure that computer literacy is expanded in that area. But we also deal with general literacy too, reading of books, so very important for all of our people, young and old. And joining with the Mustique Charitable Trust, we continue to look for those opportunities to provide secondary and primary schools with that kind of support in terms of building their libraries and the supply of those books.
The opposition New Democratic Party, the NDP, is said to have raised over $20,000 to cover duties and taxes imposed by the government on flood relief items sent from the diaspora. The party had earlier been given duty-free concession on the items by the Director General of Finance and Planning. However, in a follow-up letter sent to the party's chairman, Dr. Linton Lewis, they were informed that the decision was revoked on advice from Cabinet and that the party would have to make the necessary payments on the items. At a media conference earlier this week, Prime Minister Dr. Rav Gonsalves said the NDP needs to follow orders and stop functioning as a government unto itself, as it refused to communicate with the National Emergency Management Organization, which deals with relief supplies. The NDP says the monies to pay for the items were raised through a radio program in which persons called in and pledged their contribution. The NDP's leader, Annie Eustace, is claiming that the government is seeking to profit from the humanitarian aid sent to the NDP for distribution to those who were affected by the December floods, a claim which the Prime Minister staunchly denies. More stories on the local scene when SVG-TV News continues. Don't go away. There has been 15 recorded bushfires in St. Vincent and the Grenadines since the start of 2014, and anyone who is caught starting a bushfire can be prosecuted by the law. This comment comes from Police Sergeant with the Fire Department, Paul Smart, following a number of recent bushfires, with the latest occurring last evening in the vicinity of Edinburgh and New Montrose. Speaking to SVG-TV News earlier today, Sergeant Smart says he is holding Vincentians responsible for causing some of these fires and is appealing to the perpetrators to desist from such practice.
think it's time for us as Vincent to come alive, you know. We know what the danger fire can do to one life, property, agriculture, etc. You know, I think we're getting out of hand. Fire is our enemy, right? Destructive, can cause life, can cause lots of property, agriculture, everything at all you can think about naturally, fire can destroy it.
This afternoon, the SVG Fire Brigade was seen putting out a bushfire in the Sally Spring area. Sergeant Smart explains how the fire got started.
Carried out my investigation, and I was told that it was led by a vagrant, most like, you can say, a crazy man. Yeah, he was cooking at the roadside, and at one side, and what he did, he took maybe the fire from his under spot and light the fire. So when I asked him, he said that the place is too bushy, you know. So I spoke to them and told them it is very dangerous and you got to be very careful, you know. We have to put things in place for people like those who are not actually centralized as human beings, that people can, you know, certain people can in certain society can meet them and talk with them and so on, you know.
Meanwhile, the police sergeant outlines some of the protective measures persons can adopt to avoid fire hazards.
Driving and you discover you saw smoke coming from your vehicle, stop immediately and try and see if you can get the terminal off quick, as soon as possible. I'm able to contain the vehicle from caught fire, right? Because the battery is working with current, and if one gets the terminal off quickly, then we can save that vehicle. House fire, when you know most house fire, sometimes children are always involved. If you're lighting candles, do not put the candles next to curtains. Always put your candles in a saucer with water and put it in the center where the curtain cannot blow, or any flying paper.